رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله بارئ الخلائق الأجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء حبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، سيما ولي الله الحجة ابن الحسن صاحب الأمر والزمان.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا علي بن أبي طالب، السلام عليك يا ولي الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله. أشهد أنك أول مظلوم، وأشهد أن غصب حقك. لعن الله أعداءك وقاتليك، وعذب اللهم بأنواع العذاب. نوروا مجالسكم بذكر محمد وآل محمد. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصيبة استشهاد مولانا أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وأما بعد، قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم: اللهم صل على
محمد وآل محمد.
من أطاني और मन अता अलियन फ़क़द अतानी व मन असा अलियन फ़क़द असानी सदक़ नबी व आमन्ना बिह। इख़वानी, a night of deep grief for the lovers of Amir al-Mu'mineen, a night of deep grief for those people who love haqq, a night of deep grief for those people who love Rasulullah. On the 19th of Shahr Ramadan, the eve, we explored the divinity of Amir al-Mu'mineen in a realm of existence before the dunya. And today, we want to explore and gain a glimpse of the divinity of Amir al-Mu'mineen here in the dunya. And there are many aspects of the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen which you can embrace, from which you can derive lessons in order to gain sa'ada, prosperity in the dunya as well as in the akhirah. And there is one aspect of the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen which is a lesson for the entire humanity and the state in which the world exists, the state in which the world functions today. It is absolutely instrumental, if this world is going to succeed, that they take heed and they take lessons from the principles of governance taught to us by Amir al-Mu'mineen. Governance is an absolutely important aspect of our lives. Countries and communities, rather the entire world, is run on the principle of governance. Governance, simply speaking in terms of definition, the manner in which a society or a manner in which a nation is organized such that it attains prosperity in the eyes of deen, spiritual prosperity as well as materialistic, dunyawi. And you find that this government of Amir al-Mu'mineen, for the 4 odd years that the Zahiri Khilafah was granted to him, Because Amir al-Mu'mineen was an Imam and a Khalifa of Allah, regardless of whether rulership and administration of the affairs of the dunya were granted to him or not. Amir al-Mu'mineen remains Amir and remains the Imam. Which is why the Holy Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, and his progeny once looks towards Amir al-Mu'mineen and he says to him, Ya Ali, your example is like that of the Kaaba. Your example is that of the Kaaba. Enter when you want to go for Hajj. It is your responsibility to go to the Kaaba, not the Kaaba to come to you. Ya Ali, if people want guidance and salvation in the deen on the dunya, it is their responsibility to come to you and not you to them. Regardless of whether you go for Hajj or not, the Kaaba remains the Kaaba in its shan and in its azama. And the same thing with Amir al-Mu'mineen. Believe in his wilaya or don't believe in his wilaya, he is still the prince of the believers and Qasimun Nari wal Jannah. Ya Ali. For you see that these 4 years in which Amir al-Mu'mineen took charge of the government, to understand the personality of Amir al-Mu'mineen today, we look at him from the lenses of a head of state. In addition to the fact that he's a ma'soom imam appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In addition to the fact it is that with the wilaya of Amir al-Mu'mineen, this deen was completed as per Ayatul Ghadir, in which there is ittifaq between the Amma and the Khassa. Despite all that, our point of analysis today is understanding Amir al-Mu'mineen as a head of state and understanding those principles of governance, which is the key to the success of humanity, particularly in this day and age. Number one, the first lesson Amir al-Mu'mineen taught us when it comes to governance, a key rule of thumb, is that the ends does not justify the means. The end does not justify the means. And you find that this was a principal rule and a principle, fundamental principle in the government of Amir al-Mu'mineen, even when it came to attaining power. You notice that upon the martyrdom of Rasulullah and the event of Saqifa happening, and this rightful position of Amir al-Mu'mineen is taken away from him, what happens at that stage? Mufassirin and mu'arrikhin of history come and tell us that Abu Sufyan, the enemy of Allah and the enemy of Rasulullah, comes and he finds that there is a situation within the Islamic Ummah which he can potentially manipulate for his own benefit. You have a group of people who have abandoned the message of Ghadir, have plotted to take over the government, and Amir al-Mu'mineen is isolated within his house. Abu Sufyan comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen and he says to him, O Ali ibn Abi Talib, raise out your hand to me. Let me give bay'ah to you, and I promise you I will fill the streets of Medina with cavalry and with an entire army. With a single coup, we can wipe out these people who have taken precedence in Saqifa, and I shall be instrumental in giving leadership to you. Amir al-Mu'mineen looks at Abu Sufyan, and to paraphrase the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says to him, and since when did I need the help of the enemy of Allah to establish the rule of Allah? Principles. Look at the governments and the politicians of today. Whatever means they can use in order to get into power. They may have the best ideas of reform and taking a nation forward, but if the path towards leadership is najis, then the goals in itself cannot be attained. Principle. High on the day of Shura, the so-called Shura, when they were deciding to appoint the third Khalifa, they come and they call Amir al-Mu'mineen in the seating, And they say to him, Ya Ali ibn Abi Talib, we are willing to give you the Khilafah, but on condition. What is this condition? That you will follow the Quran, and you will follow the Sunnah of Rasulullah, and you will follow in the Sunnah of the Shaykhain. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, well, if it is the matter of conditions, as per the Kitab of Allah, I shall follow. As per the Sunnah of Rasulullah, I shall follow. But the Sunnah of the Khalifa or the Shaykhain, I shall not follow. Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, what was stopping you to say yes? You should have just said yes to them and then come into power and not have followed the seerah of the two Shaykhain. What was stopping you from saying this one lie in order to guide an entire ummah? But Amir al-Mu'mineen said, even that one lie I will not say. Principles, ya ikhwani. Amir al-Mu'mineen left behind a nation, Shia, who want to live based on principle. This first principle, that we ourselves, being the followers of Amir al-Mu'mineen, we implement these. That the end does not justify the means. If the end is pure, then choose a path which is as pure as that end. Otherwise, there is no khair in that end. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Number two, when Amir al-Mu'mineen came into position, when the Zahiri Khilafah was granted to Amir al-Mu'mineen, the first reform that he undertook as head of state is that he legislated a principle, ingrained the principle within the government, and that principle was zero tolerance towards corruption. The moment bay'ah was granted to him, the first thing that he did is that all those individuals from Quraysh, all those individuals from Bani Umayyah who were given grants, who were given free land, who were given money from the Baytul Mal, the public treasury, money which is granted to the government from the hard work and the sweat of the citizens of the state, the farmers who toil from Fajr till Maghrib under the sun, the traders who traverse the east and the west of the world to earn a living, that additional khums and that zakat which they would give to the Baytul Mal, what is known as a public treasury, in essence is the money of the people. For you have that those who came before Amir al-Mu'mineen, they used the wealth of the citizens of the state, the hard-earned money of the farmers and the traders, and they went and they raised their own statuses. They bought for themselves wealth. They amassed for them the world, the treasures of the dunya. They by usurping the money within the Baytul Mal. Corruption, misuse, fraud of public funds. When Amir al-Mu'mineen came into office, he said there is a policy of zero tolerance, even if it leads me to losing my coalition, even if it leads me to losing my supporters and people going against bay'ah, even if it will instigate an opposition to wage war against me, people who have taken priority and have made the public mal, Baytul Mal, into their personal wealth, I shall not tolerate. Such that in Nahjul Balagha, Amir al-Mu'mineen says that even if they had paid, these are people who would pay extravagant amounts of dowry and mahar to their wives from the Baytul Mal. He said, I would go and I will take that mahar back and return it back to the Baytul Mal. Zero tolerance towards corruption. Entum, Ahibai, and the word is not towards you, but this is a general word. Is corruption not the root of poverty? Is corruption not the root of an entire nation regressing? Is corruption not the root of the entire humanity regressing back? Isn't the barrier between justice and injustice corruption? Justice is turned into injustice because of corruption. And Amir al-Mu'mineen, out of his wisdom, principles of governance. Who is there in the world to seek hidayah and guidance and implement the teachings of Amir al-Mu'mineen and fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment? The second principle of Amir al-Mu'mineen, zero tolerance towards corruption. Number 3, Amir al-Mu'mineen came forward and he taught us that public servants, people who are serving in the name of the religion, people who have taken or assumed positions of leadership in the name of the religion, discipline and akhlaq is supposed to be the first badge on your shoulder. The manner in which a person in a position of power speaks to citizens of the state. Amir al-Mu'mineen took into account public servants based on their akhlaq. Show me a government in the world that has either appointed public officials or dismissed public officials based on akhlaq. We have within history, Amir al-Mu'mineen is in Masjid al-Kufa reciting his salat. A woman comes in to the mosque and she approaches Amir al-Mu'mineen. She waits for him to finish his prayer. As soon as he finishes his takbir and his salat, she says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I have a complaint towards you. Allah. Amir al-Mu'mineen leaves his ta'qibat, the dua and the tasbih. And he says, woe upon me that under my rulership there is a single citizen of the state who has a complaint. What answer will I give to Allah? Who is this Amir al-Mu'mineen? This Amir al-Mu'mineen says that if you were to give me the entire wealth of the dunya such that I will take away a grain from an ant unjustly, I shall not. These are the types of leaders, this is the leadership the world needs to come out from this cycle of poverty and non-violence that we are entrenched and engulfed in. When we live in a world with 7 billion people, half of them in poverty, if not more. When we live at a time where people rule in the name of Islam, but governments are the most corrupt governments under the name of Islam. Where are the teachings of Amir al-Mu'mineen? Precisely we are where we are because we abandoned the teachings of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says to her, and woe be upon me a complaint under my leadership. He says to her, tell me. She says, I went to your court in Fulan district and the governor of the district spoke to me in a manner that was belittling to me. She says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, your governor raised his voice in front of me such that I was intimidated and I feel that I have nowhere to go in order to gain justice. I have come to you, Ya Ali. The narrations mention Amir al-Mu'mineen calls this governor, summons him to a court, public official. Do you know who this official was, by the way, between brackets? Abul Aswad al-Du'ali. Those of you who have studied Arabic grammar, you look at the most basic of basic texts such as Ujurumiyya. Within the introduction of Ujurumiyya in the Muqaddimah, it is written that the rules of Arabic grammar that the world benefits from today was derived and taught by Abul Aswad al-Du'ali. He says, I learned the rules of Arabic grammar from my master and my Mawla Amir al-Mu'mineen. Abul Aswad al-Du'ali, from one of the most closest companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen. But this act of a public servant raising his voice towards the citizen of the state, Amir al-Mu'mineen could not bear. Never shall this happen in the name of Islam. He calls over Abul Aswad al-Du'ali. He dismisses him from his position. Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, he didn't steal. He didn't do any khayana. But he raised his voice. Amir al-Mu'mineen said, and this is your first downfall. Akhlaq is the front line in terms of your qualifications when you're in a position of leadership representing Islam, representing the government of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Do we have this in any government in the world? Has human history ever seen such a type of governance? then what stops us from implementing his style of governance? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The points are many, but tonight is a night of musibah, night of masa'ib. We want to read for you the entire Maqtal of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Hence I shall end with one last point. Principles of governance. Amir al-Mu'mineen taught us that the ends does not justify the means, number one. Number two, zero tolerance policy towards corruption. Number three, Amir al-Mu'mineen taught us the values and the importance of akhlaq as being a precondition, a prerequisite on your CV. Rather, Amir al-Mu'mineen made akhlaq the basis of being dismissed from a governmental job. No leader in human history has done this except Amir. The next principle, Amir al-Mu'mineen taught us that even the head of state is not above the law. Allahu Akbar. The head of state is not above the law. Historians mention that at one time Amir al-Mu'mineen is in Kufa. And you know, there are many years back in Nairobi, we had spoken about the government structure of Amir al-Mu'mineen, how he had separated the legislative part from the judiciary part of the government and the army to ensure that there is autonomy and that the government functions without any type of corruption. I don't want to enter that part again, but the judiciary was absolutely independent of the head of state, in that the judiciary could take the head of state to court. And you find that in Kufa, historians mention that a person comes to Shuraih al-Qadi. Shuraih was also a judge. He was not at the level or qualified in that sense, but he was a judge and he was in position. And the fact that he was in position leads to end him a hujjah against him. In any case, a person comes to Shuraih al-Qadi and he says to him, "Oh judge, I saw a shield with Amir al-Mu'mineen. And I believe this shield is mine. Amir al-Mu'mineen has stolen it from me." Shuraih al-Qadi says, "Are you sure?" He says, "Yes." Shuraih summons Amir al-Mu'mineen to court on the basis of accusation of theft. Amir al-Mu'mineen comes to court. Show me which leader of state walks into court and represents himself willingly on the claim that a single citizen of the state has accused him of theft. But Amir is Amir. He walks into the court to defend himself. More than that, you read between the lines in history, how much peace and how much security did the judge have that if he summons the head of state to court on accusation of theft, he himself will not be dismissed from his job. This is when Shuraih had confidence to call Amir al-Mu'mineen. If it was any other judge in any other state, for him just to summon the head of state to court, he worries whether his job will be in jeopardy or not, but not in the government of Amir al-Mu'mineen, because the fundamental principle of government is justice. Amir al-Mu'mineen comes into court. Shuraih is seated, and you have the person who has made the complaint against Amir al-Mu'mineen. Shuraih asks him to lodge his case forward. He comes forward and he says, "This shield that was there, or the shield which I saw with Amir al-Mu'mineen, is a shield that belonged to me and that he has stolen this." Shuraih asks Amir al-Mu'mineen to defend himself by saying, "Oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, will you present your case?" Amir al-Mu'mineen stands up and he says to Shuraih al-Qadi, "This is your first fault as a judge." Ajib. What happened? He said, "You referred to me as Amir al-Mu'mineen. When I'm in the court, refer to me as Ali ibn Abi Talib. Because when you refer to me as Amir al-Mu'mineen, the one who has lodged the case against me might feel intimidated." Where do you find this in the world? This is this Mawla that has left us on a night like this. Amir al-Mu'mineen says to him, "Oh man, you may be mistaken. This was a shield which I have used in the battle of Siffin and in the battle of Jamal, and it is a possession of my own. Perhaps there was a shield that looked like this, then you have mistaken." He says, "No." Shuraih calls for witnesses. This man brings two witnesses. Amir al-Mu'mineen has no witness. Two witnesses against no witness. It would have been sufficient that he's a ma'soom imam, and a ma'soom imam never lies. But Amir al-Mu'mineen is giving an example for future generations until Yawmul Qiyamah, the etiquette of a head of state and a person in position of leadership in the name of Islam, representing the seat of Rasulullah. The verdict goes against Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen complies to the verdict. Two witnesses against this one, khalas. He gives them the shield. Amir al-Mu'mineen walks out of the court. This person who lodged the complaint against Amir al-Mu'mineen comes running behind him. And he says to him, "Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen." He turns around, he says, "I want to give you back your shield." Allah. Amir al-Mu'mineen says to him, "Well, if you knew it was my shield, why did you take me to court and accuse me of theft?" He said that I come from the background of those of Bani Israel, and I wanted to see the traits of the real Khalifatullah fil ard and the traits of a real Waliullah on earth, and I felt that this is the best way that I can discover the reality of your claim, and every one of your sifat which you demonstrated within the court is mentioned within the Tawrat. I stand in front of you, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, and I declare, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, wa ashhadu annaka ya Ali waliyullah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. This is Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, who we lost on a day like this. It becomes our responsibility. You know why Amir al-Mu'mineen is madhloom even till today? Because his teachings are not being implemented. This is mine and your responsibility. That when you want to introduce Islam to the world, introduce Islam through the teachings of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Today, look at the entire world, and we can have 150 excuses for Islamophobia. But one reason that we can't run away from is that the version of Islam which the other people are exposed to is nothing but an Islam of bloodshed and beheadings and injustice and lack of tolerance. The Islam of Bani Umayyah and the Islam of those who corrupted the teachings of Rasulullah. If we are going to change the perception of Islam, if we are going to work for the dhuhur of our 12th Imam to happen within our lifetimes, we have a two-pronged responsibility, implementing the teachings of Amir al-Mu'mineen in our own lives, because each and every one of us is a leader in our own capacity, be it a family. And number two, tabligh and teachings of the principles of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Let the world recognize Islam through the light of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ikhwani, tonight, night of tears and a night of grief. And I want to begin the recitation of a Maqtal. And this Maqtal captures the final moments of the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen. From the 19th night to the 20th night, up till tonight, the night of his Shahadat. And I want for you, it is like you have traveled with your heart to Kufa. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of us the ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the ziyarah of Masjid al-Kufa so long as we are alive. Those of us who have been blessed to be in Kufa, I want you to take your hearts to the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen outside Masjid al-Kufa. And it is as if you were sitting on the doorstep and you were watching all the events unfold in front of you. I want you to live these moments of Amirul Mu'mineen. And inshallah, this in itself will be a motivation for us to transform our lives. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Bismillahir-Rahim. Muhammad ibn Hanafiya states that on the 19th of Shahrul Ramadan, when our father Amirul Mu'mineen was struck with a sword in Masjid al-Kufa while he was in a state of salat, I, together with Hassan and Hussein, we went to carry our father. Due to the intensity of the strike, the deepness of the wound, and the strength of the poison, our father was not able to walk. So we brought him onto the house on a stretcher until we came to the entrance of the house, where our father said to my brother Hassan, "Let me walk, for indeed Zainab is in the house." For indeed Zainab is in the house. If Zainab sees me in this state, she shall not able to control herself. As they brought Amirul Mu'mineen into the house, they laid him down on the bed. All his family members, his children, sat around him weeping and crying. The one to cry the most was Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. Muhammad ibn Hanafiya says that my father was injured, but it was my father who was wiping the tears of Aba Abdullah. Muhammad ibn Hanafiya states that on the eve of the 20th of Shahrul Ramadan, I stayed with our father. The poison from the sword of Ibn Muljim had begun to affect his legs. Even if the lights are off, there's no problem, inshallah. With the darkness, it is easier to cry. If there is anyone who is ashamed or not comfortable crying in the light, with the darkness, inshallah, the tears flow. The poison from the sword of Ibn Muljim had begun to affect the legs of Amirul Mu'mineen. He was praying while he was seated. He was not able to stand. He then spent the rest of the night until the time of Fajr, advising us and guiding us with his testimonies and his will. On the 20th day of Shahrul Ramadan, the people of Kufa had gathered outside our home. They all wanted to visit Imam and pay their respects to him. They were allowed to come into the house in groups. They would convey their salams to Amirul Mu'mineen, and then the Imam would say to them, "Ayyuhan nas, salluni qabla an tafkiduni, wa khaffifu su'alakum li musibati imamikum." O people, ask me whatever question you want before you lose me, but limit your questions due to the tragedy of your Imam. Allahu Akbar. Amirul Mu'mineen was even doing tabligh, encouraging people to ask him questions about the deen, even when he was injured, even when he was not able to stand on his feet. Allahu Akbar. Salamu alayka ya Amirul Mu'mineen. Hujar ibn Uday al-Kindi stood by the Imam and composed a poem eulogizing him. He said, "Faya asafi ala mawla taqi, abil athar haydar az-zaki." My grief and my pain shall never end for the loyal and the pious master, the father of the Ma'sumin, Haydara, the unflaunting, undoubting lion, Az-Zaki, the one who is pure. Hujar ibn Uday then looked at Imam and he began to cry. Amirul Mu'mineen said to him, "O Hujar, what will you do one day in the future when you are forced to disassociate from me? What shall you do, O Hujar?" Hujar ibn Uday replied, "Wallahi ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, law quti'tu bis-sayfi irban irba, wa udrimat li an-nar, wa ulqitu fiha, la athartu dhalika ala al-bara'ati minka." he said to him, by Allah, Ya Ameer al-Mu'mineen, I would rather prefer to be cut into pieces with a sword, and I would rather be thrown into a burning fire rather than for me to disassociate myself from you. Ameer al-Mu'mineen then said to him, O Hijr, you have been blessed with success. May Allah reward you on behalf of the progeny of Rasulullah. As the house of Ameer al-Mu'mineen was crowded with visitors and other people were waiting outside the house, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba came out and requested all the people to return back to their homes. Everybody left except one companion by the name of Asbagh ibn Nabata. He decided to remain seated by the doorstep. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba saw him and said to him, O Asbagh, I asked everyone to leave. Why do you remain by the door? Asbagh cried with Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, and he said to him, O my son, O grandson of Rasulullah, give me one more chance. Grant me one more chance to visit and to see my master, Ameer al-Mu'mineen. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba agreed. Asbagh says, فَدَخَلْتُ فَإِذَا أَمِيرُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مُعَصَّبٌ بِعِصَابَةٍ وَقَدْ عَلَّتْ صُفْرَةُ وَجْهِهِ عَلَى تِلْكَ الْعِصَابَةِ. Asbagh says, I entered and I saw a white bandage tied around the head of Ameer al-Mu'mineen. He says, I didn't know what was more pale, the bandage or the complexion on the face of Ameer al-Mu'mineen. وَإِذَا هُوَ يَرْفَعُ فَخْذًا وَيَدَا أُخْرَى مِنْ شِدَّةِ الضَّرْبَ وَكِثْرَةِ السُّمِّ. He says Ameer al-Mu'mineen was in so much pain due to the intensity of the poison that at sometimes Imam Ali would straighten his legs, sometimes he would fold his legs, all due to the pain of the strike and the poison and the poison on his body. The Imam was in so much pain. Asbagh says he began to cry, and then he said to Ameer al-Mu'mineen, I wish to listen to one more hadith from you. The Imam told Asbagh to sit down, and he said to him, O Asbagh, this is the last ever hadith you shall ever hear from me. And then he recounted the hadith where Rasulullah said to Ameer al-Mu'mineen, Ala wa anni wa anta abawa hadhihi al-ummah, faman aqqana fala'anahu Allah alayh. O Ali, you and I are the fathers of this ummah. For the one who is irresponsible or disrespectful to their fathers, then the la'na of Allah is upon them. Ala wa anni wa anta mawlaya hadhihi al-ummah, فَعَلَى مَنْ عَبَكَ عَنَّا فَلَعَنَهُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ. Indeed, you and I, O Ali, are the two masters of this ummah. For the one who disobeys the master, the damnation of Allah is upon them. ألا وأني وأنت أجيرا هذه الأمة فمن ظلمنا أجرنا فلعنه الله عليه. O Ali, you and I are the two people who built this Islam. For the one who oppresses us, the damnation of Allah is upon them. The Imam, having completed the hadith, then fainted due to the intensity of the pain. When he regained consciousness after a while, he was struggling to breathe. Imam Ameer al-Mu'mineen was suffering due to the heat of the poison burning up the insides of his body. Muhammad ibn Hanafiya states, on the night of the 21st, yani on a night like this, on the night of the 21st, my father gathered all the children around him, and then he began to bid them farewell one by one, telling them that Allah is their protector and the best one to rely upon. He then advised each of them to have Iman. By this time, the effect of the poison began to spread through the body of Amir al-Mu'mineen until his blessed feet had now become red in color and had become more swollen than before. Amir al-Mu'mineen then said to his children, I will depart from this dunya tonight, and I will be reunited with my beloved Prophet. He then told Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, فَإِذَا أَنَا مُتُّ يَا أَبَا مُحَمَّدْ فَغَسِّلْنِي وَكَفِّنِّي وَحَنِّتْنِي بِبَقِيَّةِ حُنُوتَ جَدِّكَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْ كَافُورِ الْجَنَّةِ جَاءَ بِهِ جِبْرَائِيل. Once I die, O my son Hassan Abba Muhammad, I want you to give me the ghusl, and I want you to wrap me in my coffin. I want you to use the remainder of the hunut which was used for Rasulullah. For indeed this was the kafur that was brought by Jibreel from Jannah. I say, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, how fortunate are you that you have a son to give you ghusl and a kafan. Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, come to Karbala. Who is there to give a ghusl and a kafan to Aba Abdullah al-Hussein? Amir al-Mu'mineen then said to Imam al-Mujtaba, once you complete my ghusl and my kafan and my hunut, you should place me in a tabut, and then you should only lift the back of the janazah, as the front of the tabut will be raised by the malaika, including Jibreel. I want you to take my janazah to wherever Jibreel takes you and place it where they guide you. You will then find a qabr or a grave which is already dug for me. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba did as he was told. Muhammad ibn Hanafiya says, when we went to bury my father, we uncovered a pit of the earth and we saw a stone. The stone said, this is the grave for Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, which was dug by Nabi Allah Nuh. I want you to pray over my body with 7 takbirat. Amir al-Mu'mineen is continuing his wasiyah to Imam al-Mujtaba. He says, I want you to pray over my body, Salatul Mayyat, with 7 takbirat. And know, O my son, that these 7 takbirs can never be recited for anyone after me except for the awaited Imam al-Mahdi, who will be from the lineage of Aba Abdullah. After you bury me, O my son Hassan, I want you to conceal the whereabouts and the markings of my grave. This was because Amir al-Mu'mineen knew that in Kufa there are so many enemies. If the grave of Amir al-Mu'mineen was marked, they would come and they would exhume his body. La ilaha illallah. And then Amir al-Mu'mineen conveyed his final wasiyah, and he asked for it to be written down. Ya people, ya Shia, this is the wasiyah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, his final wasiyah. He says, هذا ما أوصى به أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب أوصي أنه يشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا ورسوله محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. He says the wasiyah of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib is that he bears testimony to the oneness of Allah. He bears testimony to the risala of Rasulullah, and that this deen is a deen of haqq that shall prevail even if the mushrikun try to cover it up. ثم إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين. My salat and my life and my death and all my actions have been done purely, ikhlas, purely for Allah, the Lord of the universe. وبذلك أمرت وأنا أول المسلمون. It is by this that I have been commanded, and indeed I was the first of the Muslims. Amir al-Mu'mineen then went on to say, Usikuma bitaqwallah, I give my wasiyah to you, and I give my wasiyah, O Hassan and O Hussein, Usikuma bitaqwallah, wa an la tabghaya ad-dunya wa in baghatkuma. I advise you, O my sons, to maintain taqwa and do not be deceived by the pleasures of this dunya, even if these pleasures pursue you. Do not grieve on anything which you may have lost out in this dunya. O my sons, always speak the truth and act in expectation of divinely reward. وَكُونَا لِلظَّالِمِ خَصْمًا وَلِلْمَظْلُومِ عَوْنًا. أوصيكما وجميع ولدي وأهل بيتي ومن بلغكم كتابي هذا من المؤمنين بتقوى الله ربكم ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. I ask you to always be an opponent to the oppressor and to always be a supporter of the oppressed. I advise you both, this is my testimony to you, Hassan and Hussein, and to all my children. This is my testimony to all the mu'mineen who shall receive this letter and who are from my followers. Allah. This is the message of Amir al-Mu'mineen to all of us tonight. He says, fear Allah, have taqwa, and do not die except that you are in a state of submission to Allah. I advise you to maintain taqwa and to arrange your affairs and to maintain good relationships amongst yourselves. The Imam then continued to advise them with treasures of wisdom until he said, Allah, Allah fil aitam, la taghibbu afwahahum, wa la yudayyi'u bihadratikum. Allah, Allah, the orphans, Allah, Allah, the yatim, do not let them be hungry and do not let them be oppressed while you are in their presence. Allah, Allah fil Quran, fala yusbikukum ilal amali bihi ghayrikum. Allah, Allah in the Quran, do not let anyone supersede you in reciting and following this Quran. Allah, Allah fi jiranikum, فإنه وصية نبيكم ما زال يوصي بهم حتى ظننا أنه سيورثهم. Allah, Allah, be careful about your neighbors, for indeed the wasiyah of the Prophet was to take care of the neighbors to the extent that we thought Rasulullah will make the neighbors inherit from us. By Allah, he goes on to say, Allah, Allah fi salat, fa innaha khayrul amal, wa innaha amudu dinikum. Allah, Allah, be careful about your salat, for indeed the salat is the best of actions, and indeed it is the pillar of the religion. Allah, Allah fi zakat, fa innaha tudfi'u ghadaba rabbikum. Allah, Allah, be careful about giving your zakat, for indeed it quenches the fire of Allah. Allah, Allah fi siyami shahri Ramadan, fa inna siyamahu junnatun minan nar. Allah, Allah, be careful about the fasting of Shahrul Ramadan, for indeed this fasting is a shield from the fire of hell. Allah, Allah fil fuqara'i wal masakin, fa ashrikuhum fi ma'ayishikum. Allah, Allah, take care of the poor people and take care of the oppressed, the masakin, and make sure they are a part of your livelihood. Allah, Allah fi dhurriyyati nabiyyikum fala yadlumanna bayna adhharikum. Allah, Allah, be careful about the lineage and the progeny of Rasulullah. Make sure that they are not oppressed while you are amongst them. وَلَا تَخَافُنَّ فِي اللَّهِ لَوْمَةَ لَائِمٍ يَكْفِيكُمْ مَنْ أَرَادَكُمْ وَبَغِيَ عَلَيْكُمْ. Do not fear the blame of other people. Do not be concerned about the opinions of other people so long as you are working in the way of Allah. Indeed, it is He who shall protect you from those who want to harm you. وَلَا تَتْرَكُوا الْأَمْرَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَالنَّهْيِ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ فَيُوَلَّى عَلَيْكُمْ أَشْرَارَكُمْ ثُمَّ تَدْعُونَ فَلَا يُسْتَجَابَ لَكُمْ. Allah, Allah, be careful. Do not abandon Amra bil Ma'ruf, nor should you abandon Nahi anil Munkar. If you stop doing Amra bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar, the most evil of people shall rule over you. And as a result of leaving Amra bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar, as a result of this, even your du'as and your supplications shall never be answered. Upon completing the final testimony, Sayyida Zainab al-Kubra came running towards Ameer al-Mu'mineen. She said to him, "O my father, Ayman has narrated to me the tragedy of Karbala." Allah, even on this night, 21st of Shahr Ramadan, she is remembering Karbala. Ameer al-Mu'mineen is remembering Karbala. She says to him, "And I wish to hear, is the incident of Karbala true from you, O my father?" Ameer al-Mu'mineen said, "Indeed, O my daughter, it is the way Ayman has told you. It is as if I see you and the rest of your sisters and your women brought in the city of Kufa as prisoners." Allah, Allah. Ameer al-Mu'mineen, Zainab will be brought into the city of Kufa with a rope around her neck. This is the city in which Ameer al-Mu'mineen was a master. But years later, Zainab will be brought with a rope around her neck, with a rope around her hands. Shimar al-La'in will be whipping Zainab. It is in Kufa that Zainab will cry out, "Ya Ali!" So Ameer al-Mu'mineen said to Zainab at this point, "Fasabran sabra, I want you to have patience while you shall go through this tribulation." Ameer al-Mu'mineen then turned towards his brother Imam. Ameer al-Mu'mineen then turned towards his son Imam al-Hussein, and he said to him, "Ya Aba Abdullah, أنت شهيد هذه الأمة وسوف تذبح ذبح الشاة من كفاك." O Aba Abdullah, you are the martyr of this ummah. You shall become shaheed. O Hussein, you will be slaughtered like a sheep. You will be slaughtered like a sheep, and you will be beheaded from the back of the neck. And then Ameer al-Mu'mineen turned towards his son Hassan, and he said to him, "O my son, you will be poisoned while you are oppressed. So have patience over the trials and the tribulations." Ameer al-Mu'mineen then appointed Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, and he made him in charge of the family. He said to them, from now and after my dismissal, it will be Hassan al-Mujtaba in charge of this family. He then asked for Abul Fadl al-Abbas. Abul Fadl came and sat by his father, Ameer al-Mu'mineen. Imam Ali asked him to come a little bit closer. As Abul Fadl leant forward, Ameer al-Mu'mineen kissed the right arm of Abul Fadl. Allah, Allah, intum Shia, you know why Ameer al-Mu'mineen kissed the arms of Abul Fadl? He kissed the right arm of Abul Fadil and he kissed the left arm of Abul Fadil. And then he asked Sayyida Zainab to come close. He took the hand of Abbas, he put it on the hand of Zainab, and he said to him, my son Abbas, from today you are in charge of Zainab. Allah, Allah. Which is why the narrations mention that on Sham-e Ghariba, Sayyida Zainab, when the tents were being lit on fire, the first name that she cried out, Akhi Abbas. Oh my brother Abbas, where are you? When you were my protector, the people would not even look at us. Today they are burning our houses. Amirul Mu'mineen then appointed Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba as the succeeding Imam. He gave him the Dhul Fiqar, he gave him the ring of Aqiq, he then gave him the Mus'haf and the Jami', the final Quran. And due to the intensity of the poison and the deepness of the wound, Amirul Mu'mineen fainted another time. The children came and they poured water on the face of Amirul Mu'mineen. When he gained consciousness, he looked towards his family for one last final time. Allah, Ya Shi'at Amir al-Mu'mineen, these are the final moments of your Mawla, huh? He looked at his family for one last final time, and then he said, I can see Rasulullah coming from Jannah. I can see my brother Ja'far al-Tayyar. I can see my uncle Hamza. They have all come from Jannah to take me away from the dunya. The sweat of death began to pour down the head or the forehead of Amir al-Mu'mineen. فَإِسْتَقْبَلَ الْقِبْلَةَ وَغَمَّدَ عَيْنَيْهِ وَمَدَّدَ رِجْلَيْهِ وَأَسْبَلَ يَدَيْهِ. Amir al-Mu'mineen lied down facing towards the Qibla. He closed his eyes. Amir al-Mu'mineen straightened his legs. He straightened his arms by his side. He began to recite the Shahadatain. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Amir al-Mu'mineen recited the Shahadatain, and then our Mawla went silent. Wa Haydara. Imam's ruh left the body. Zainab is crying out, Ya Abata, Ya Ali. Ali is not moving anymore. Zainab beats her face. Ya Abata, we have become yatim without you, Ya Ali. Mata mein Ali, mata mein Hussein.